Spider-Man Fake Red is a manga written and drawn by Yusuke Osawa. Sorry for the mispronunciation. He worked on other mangas like Six Bullets, Doctor Duo, Green Worlds, Kegare no Ota, and Suterareta Tensei Kenja Mamono no Mori de Saikyu. I'm just gonna show it on the screen. I can't pronounce this. Before diving in, I should Before diving in, I should state that the series was discontinued due to poor sales in Japan and not being able to be sold anywhere in the West. The author tweeted about its cancellation around July of 2020. I only started reading it months after the cancellation and I didn't even know it was cancelled, and when I started reading the manga and found out about the cancellation, I was kinda sad. I genuinely enjoyed reading this and highly recommend you guys to read it now because this being a review will have some spoilers. Spider-Man Fake Red centers around a high school student in New York named Yu. We don't learn his last name. He comes across the Spider-Man suit underneath a dumpster. He has the smartest idea to wear the costume to get the real Spider-Man's attention. While he wears the suit, people actually mistaken him for the real Spider-Man. A fire happens and people ask him to help. He decides to help because he doesn't want to ruin their reputation and saves the kid. From then on, he does other heroic stuff like save a lesbian and stops a Twitch streamer who wants to form an army of simps just for her ego. Keep in mind, Yu is just a regular human. He has no powers at all. The only thing that he is good at that actually helps him continue on being as the Spider-Man is the fact he can actually rock climb. While all of this happens, he is also looking for the real Spider-Man and meets Silk, who already has a connection with Peter. Yu does eventually find Peter and give back the suit, and that's where the manga ends. This is just a brief summary of the manga. I once again urge you to read the manga if you haven't already read it, because it really captures the responsibility of being Spider-Man. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about our main character, Yu.
Ishigami.
I like this kind of situation. He has no powers and yet still can be Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a character that teaches us to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, even if you don't get anything in return. I think the author wanted to change the inspiring line that Uncle Ben said. For this story, it's more of a no great power, still great responsibility thing. Yu continues to be Spider-Man even if he gets hurt or even dies because he has to and no one else can. Yes, I guess it's also to protect the reputation of Spider-Man, but it's also to save lives. By wearing the suit, it gives people hope and gives criminals a sense of pressure or fear. They don't know he isn't the Spider-Man. He does these things because of this responsibility and to make sure people are safe. He is a fan of Spider-Man and it's clear from the first panel we see him in. He has a good sense of morality. I think all of these combined makes him a true hero. He may not see himself as a hero, but by looking at his actions, we can see how much he is willing to sacrifice and suffer to save lives. I think to talk about a different person wearing the Spider-Man suit, we should ask what makes him different from Peter. I think the only similarities these two have is their outsider complex from their classmates. Except that Yu is much more easier to interact with and actually doesn't really hate his classmates, unlike Peter. By the way, I am talking about Stan Lee's Spider-Man run. He gets along with others much easier. He isn't smart and tends to skip school because teenage hormones are a bitch. This is a hot take, but if the manga wasn't cancelled, he could have been written better than Miles when he first started out. As of writing this outline, I said he is probably better, but after rewatching Into the Spider-Verse and playing the game, I could be wrong. Right now, I like both Yu and Miles as legacy characters who aren't blood related to Peter at all. Seriously, the clones and the daughters and the sons of Peter are always the ones to take up the mantle or just fill in the role of Spider-Man. Now, Emma Pearson is also an original character. She kind of fills in the role of both love interest and best friend who knows the identity. She also actually has a really helpful role in Yu's life. She helps him with schoolwork and helps him with his Spider-Man suit and injuries. She is also the motivation for you to continue being Spider-Man while he is looking for Peter. I enjoy seeing them interact, and I find it heartwarming when she came out to Yu about her lesbian attraction. Yu doesn't really feel sad or hurt. He feels much happier that he was able to inspire and make her feel comfortable with her interests. I do like how she starts off as this generic love interest, and she still kinda is, but I definitely could see her being much more than that if the series continued forward. The Peter Parker in this universe is closely similar to Insomniac's version, and is around his No More Spider-Man phase, I think. I think we would have gotten a backstory of how the suit ended up under the dumpster. The actual proper introduction, we see him and MJ sort of break up, and I think that makes him lose motivation to be Spider-Man. We don't really know how he got stuck with the Venom symbiote, but it's implied that Mysterio did it and was able to control the symbiote. I like the final chapters where he and the symbiote fights you. Peter becoming a monster is just totally different feeling. Yu's reaction is our reaction. I'm not gonna lie, the panel where Peter comes back as Spider-Man in the black suit was just I think he would have been a mentor to you since Yu has shown he is capable of being a hero. I'll get to that topic later. Peter seems to have a blonde hair here, unlike the front arts. I guess we would have had a Clone Saga thing going on, but I don't know. As I read this, it seemed Yu was going for a legacy story, where Yu does take the place or work simultaneously with Peter as Spider-Man, kinda like Miles. Originally, I wanted to do a comparison video of Ultimate Spider-Man and Spider-Man Fake Red, but it would be an unfair comparison because Miles had a longer run and Yu's story only lasted 15 chapters. Now, regardless of the story not having Peter as the main, it's still a good Spider-Man story. So, what is a good Spider-Man story? To me, a good Spider-Man story doesn't need to be about Peter. Well, him as the main character at least. Spider-Man can be anyone doing good without expecting anything in return. In a good Spider-Man story, the man has to learn responsibility and to know the struggles and has to face challenges and decisions that may lead to sacrifices that would directly or indirectly affect the man behind the mask. The man has to make sacrifices for the greater good, no matter how great the effect it is on his personal life. So with this, how does Spider-Man Fake Red accomplish this? Yu learns the responsibility he has as Spider-Man. He has to save lives and risk himself getting hurt. Even without great power, he still continues to be Spider-Man. Wearing the suit makes Yu a symbol. It makes him a symbol. It gives him the strength to continue to fight, and with it the responsibility to help others. There's a panel from Spider-Man Miles Morales that I really like, even if it was really brief. I am the real Spider-Man! I mean, a real Spider-Man. The suit, the name, they matter, but it's not about one man. You wearing the suit and people thinking he is the real Spider-Man isn't to make himself feel better or to fuel his ego. It's to continue giving people hope and to save others and inspire others the same way he who's given hope and inspired by the real Spider-Man. When I mentioned that a good Spider-Man story should have the man behind the mask sacrifice something or make a decision that would affect his life, Yu decided for the best of the city he should save Peter Parker and give him the motivation to get back, and in doing so, for dramatic effect also I guess, is to reveal his identity. He knows Peter is the only person capable to do these things that he can't and probably do them better. So as mentioned before, this manga had a great story and has great potential. There's a lot of places where Osawa could have taken the story. So far, we could have a backstory behind Peter retiring, what happened to the Venom symbiote, and how Yu's life would have been when everyone knows he is the fake Spider-Man. One possible theory of mine is that the Peter Yu meets is a clone. His hair seems to be blonde because of the white shading. Usually blonde in manga is white and brown is a darker shading of like gray or something. And in the front cover or in the front art, Peter's hair seems to be brown. I could see that Mysterio might have done some switching between Peter and Ben, the clone. I guess for you, I do see him returning as another Spider-Man, either wearing the Venom symbiote or an Iron Spider armor, or possibly even getting his own spider powers. Peter in the last chapter seemed interested in him, and it could lead to that. Miles so far doesn't exist, so maybe Yu takes the place of the legacy character. That would shut up some fans. My god. If the author did include Miles, it would be fun to see Miles and Yu team up. Again, these are all just speculations. Yu Osawa has a clean slate and has the freedom to literally do anything with this. If the manga wasn't cancelled, I could see Osawa being part of Marvel's team and actually work in the West because Osawa seems to have an understanding of Spider-Man. It also looks like he is a fellow comic book geek himself. Now, final thoughts for this series. This is just some random stuff that doesn't really affect the review at all. The suit is a nice mix of MCU suits and the PS4 suits, especially with the eyes. Yu's design looks so similar to Yu Ishigami's design from Love is War, and I have this funny headcanon. This is literally an alternate version of Ishigami. We never learned Yu's last name, so my headcanon, they're the same person from different timelines. Really do hope that this series does get a continuation or even a sequel. I guess if this does get the hashtag safe treatment, I guess we could see the character come back in some shape or form, or even cameo or have a big role in a future Spider-Verse comic. Hopefully Insomniac does include this suit because it really looks good, and with the possible inclusion of Venom in the sequel, there's already a Venomized version of the suit. But these are unlikely because the series is pretty underrated, and to those who have stumbled upon this video without ever reading the manga, I urge you to read the 14 chapters and share it with your friends. So in conclusion, the Spider-Man Fake Red is a highly recommended read. Truly captures the lesson Spider-Man teaches and has the essence of a good Spider-Man story. Anyone can be Spider-Man. Anyone can do good. Anyone can be a hero, regardless of no superpowers or if you have any. Now get the fuck out of here, the boys and your heroes are asshole stories.